Good morning, Dual Coast fans. Welcome back to another episode of Dual Coast Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Skoka, joined by my co-host on the West Coast, Russ Rogers, and very special guest this morning, Mr. Kelly Siegel. Kelly, thank you so much for being on this morning.
I'm kind of the Oreo cookie here, man. Thanks for having me. I'm in between. So you got New York, you got California, and I'm in between in Michigan. So
yeah, and not only that, but we're both wearing black, and you're the white Oreo in the middle.
I didn't even think of that.
That's funny.
Oh, that is awesome, man. We're so glad to have you. It's great.
It's really good to see you guys, and it's good to see you thriving, Russ, and everything you've set your mind to, you're achieving, and you're becoming, and I'm proud of you, and I'm a big fan.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, man. Well, you know, we talked some time ago. We met through Kelly Siegel, and it's just amazing to see, you know, the growth and everything. But my opening question to you, right? My opening question to you is, do most newspaper boys become successful?
Well, you did some major research on me. So the backstory on that is I lied and said I was 13 years old when I was 11 to get a paper route. And they had this promotion going on that they were paying. I don't remember what it was, but I want to say $5 a new customer, new subscriber. So I inherited a paper route that I lied about, and they had 40 subscribers, and I went and doubled it to 80 because I wanted to get, it was either $5 or $10, whatever it was a lot of money for an 11-year-old kid. What I didn't realize is I was doing that out of survival, like out of scarcity and fear. And I built a multi-million-dollar business on scarcity and fear. So I would tell you this much. I do think anybody that goes door to door and hustles, you learn a different kind of skill. So on top of going door to door, building a paper route, I sold candy. I worked at a car wash. So I did a lot of things while maintaining a 4.0 grade point average, by the way, to survive. And that's one hell of a motivator. Really, it was just to eat. My parents were alcoholics, never around, out drinking. I was to be seen and not heard. And really, I was a slave. So they made me do work and work and work. And if I did anything wrong, I was beat. So you build this resiliency and you build this thick skin. And what happens is if you use it and you weaponize it, you can become very successful monetarily wise. But until you do the inner work, which is what I'm doing right now, you will hit a ceiling that you don't see. And then we talked about it before we hit record. You have to unbecome that person who lives in that their identity is fear and scarcity. And it's hard to notice when you look successful on the outside. Mm-hmm. So the long story short, Russ, is I think anybody that lies and has to go get a paper route out of scarcity to feed themselves are going to be successful because there's a level of drive in them that you can't manifest. You can't even build it. It just has to happen. And that built when I got that, I think it was like $90. I thought I was rich at 11. And all I could see was food. And that said, it buried something in me like, ooh, money equals safety and freedom. But I built it the wrong way. That gave me a lot of freedom until I'm unbecoming it right now, which is very difficult to do, especially at 50.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love it, man. How to lie at 11 and become successful at 50.
Hey, win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat. I don't know, man. You know, the funny thing about it is I remember my parents that never were around literally telling me I couldn't get the paper out. And I just hid it from them too, which was another thing that I learned is the little white lies and the hidden things ain't going to hurt anybody, but they do. That's not becoming of who the man I am today. It's not what I'm teaching my daughter, but I also create space for her to communicate with me and present an argument. for looking back, I know it was nothing more that they just wanted me to be there to wait on them hand and foot. There was no rhyme or reason to not letting me go do this. But I didn't know the words. I didn't have the safe place to say, I don't have any food. You guys don't leave me any food. There was no open line of communication to say, you guys are drunks. Probably wouldn't have came off well anyways. So long story short is I used it and weaponized it to make a lot of money until it wasn't. I look in the mirror, wasn't fulfilled. And then I broke it all down and I'm sharing it with everybody to go to the next level, the next level, the next level.
Well, I'm not sure how you hide 80 newspapers that show up at your door. That's pretty good.
God, Russ, you're throwing me for a loop here. I didn't even realize, what? They just were never around. So they just didn't pay attention. So you would as soon as they showed up, you grab them and you go deliver them. I threw it out. And I was a smart little entrepreneur. I would recruit my buddies.
Yeah.
And I would put them on the handlebars of my freaking bike. And I would have my buddy throw them while I would drive. And then I would treat them to French fries, and they would, that's delegation.
That's
before
right.
I knew what delegation was. And the funniest thing is, the hardest part about growing to massive, to 8-9 figures, is delegating and trusting the people to do the job. Because I grew up and I survived on my own. So I want to do everything alone. And I thought, I'm tough. I can do it. That's so wrong. You want to go fast, go alone. You want to go farther, go together. We're talking about Craig, and Craig breathed that into me. And through Craig, I've met Ed Milet. I've met John Gordon. I met so many people, and then you guys. And it's like, so success has help, but you must let it. I would push it away because I didn't trust myself or them. Because the people were closest to me, my mother, my my stepfather, treated me like I was an afterthought, like I was garbage. And they would tell me so, which is so weird that I got all this confidence.
Oh, that's amazing.
I totally bucked the system. I used to call myself an alien, and it didn't feel right. So I'm just very uncommon, Russ. I do the darn thing that feels uncomfortable, and I do it until it becomes comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a buddy, Mike, that I grew up with, and he had a paper route, and he became very successful as well. But I remember staying over, his house on a weekend or something, and, getting up in those early morning hours and, stuffing the Sunday paper, which was always the biggest paper, right? Because it had all the ads. Yep. So I remember getting up with him, and I didn't like that feeling. I didn't like waking up and do it. But one thing that people forget, especially somebody in Michigan, is weather on a bicycle, right? And having to do 40, building it up to 80 is the weather. And you still have to deliver that newspaper to people. So when you talk about being resilient, right, that's really below the surface at 11. You don't really realize it, but you're building that up within you to say, I've got to deliver no matter what.
Yeah, I'm like the mailman. I'm always going to deliver, and that's really I've built my identity on that. And for we forgot that there's a young faction of kids that don't even know what a newspaper is, because we didn't have cell phones that we could just get everything right out in front of us right away across the globe. And so you had to pick up your information from either watching the news or getting the newspaper. Right. And I remember that was a morning ritual for me for years. I would get the newspaper. I still miss it. I do. I can't stand looking at this device all day, every day. Yeah. And then now we don't even realize that we're just being served up exactly the same thoughts over and over, so we feel like we're right. The algorithm is making people less expansive, and I invite people to listen to podcasts for people that they don't agree with, read books of people that they don't agree with. We just got on here. I struggle with New York, California, and Michigan politics. And not that I'm a Democrat or a Republican. I tend to just not like the system. I'm a constitutionalist. And when I look at it, I don't know. I read all of their books, all of the governor's books, because I wanted to know what they were thinking Turns out you could tell they were ghostwritten and they were just saying how great they were, but at least I tried. I like to bring in information from people that I don't necessarily agree with, because I want to find that common ground where we do agree. Because what do we all agree on? Is we agree that we love this country. We agree that we want to be happy. We agree that we like that humanity is important, that kindness is gangster. Let's start there and then work our way out. And then there's certain things we're just going to have to agree to disagree on. Like, this whole Save America Act. I don't know what the heck that is, but I can tell you this much. The one part of it makes sense, and there's a bunch of things that make no sense that they're burying in it. Like, how would you not need ID to vote? It's a law in the country that you have to carry ID with you at all times, but not to vote. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Right. Anyways, I don't mean to make this political, but I just wanted people to realize that there were newspapers, man, and they still exist, but they're very expensive and they're few and far between. And really, the art of reporting has become terrible. You're really just getting people's opinions and not the facts. That's why the Hard in Life podcast exists. I just want to give facts. My opinion. I believe the harder you work, the more successful and the more lucky you get.
Yeah.
And that includes on your mind, Russ and Dan. You gotta, money won't make you happy, but happiness will make you money. This is an inside game. And forever I avoided that. So I implore anybody, they take away anything, look inside. I usually have a mirror. I got the little mirror that I carry around because that's literally the best tool in the world. Look in the mirror, man. Ain't nobody doing anything to you. You are doing it to you. And more than likely, it was implemented and that operating system was implemented when you were a child and you don't even know. I had this scarcity and fear mindset that got me successful. But what got you here will keep you here. And what got you here won't get you there.
Yeah. That's right.
Very true. Very true.
On a much lighter note, I always look at Kelly Siegel whenever he's posting and, shirtless and everything. And I've seen his hair at Craig Siegel, when it's up like this. And this morning it's throwing me off that it's so clean and slick back, man.
That's a little messed up. That's a little messed up.
He's rocking.
I just, how you do anything is how you do everything. So I like to look presentable, but I've also gotten to the point where I really am so comfortable in my skin that I just want to be comfortable out of my skin too. Yeah. I'm a big guy. I work out every day. Your thing, Move 365. I work out every day. It's the happiest part of my day besides being on podcasts in front of a camera. And it just gets my mind, my body and my mind right. I listen to podcasts while I'm training. I'm never zoning out. I don't do much of anything that isn't advancing me. So, if you're going to look like a bum, people are going to treat you like a bum. That's what I tell my daughter. They're 17 years old and all these kids, they look like they're homeless. And it's like, people are going to judge you. That's what happens. But then I speak and I sound like I know what I'm talking about, even though I'm a student of the game, even at 50. Yeah. I'm a learn it all. I want to be a sponge and learn.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Awesome, man. It's awesome.
Valuable notes right there, man. I'm telling you.
Very.
Kelly is bringing it.
Bringing the heat.
Hope everybody's listening and taking notes this morning.
By the way, it's a great plug. If you guys want, email me, kelly@heartofthelife.com. And I'll just put Dual Coast, and I'll send you both of copies of my book, electronic copies of my book, Harder Than Life, Happier Than Life. I'm not doing this. I don't have a coaching program. I do all this because it's cathartic and I'm learning. And when I have a mirror in front of me, I know I got to show up as the best version of me. So if I'm out here spewing it, I'm going to live it as well, because I don't have a hypocritic bone in my body. And since I'm not doing it to try to make money, hopefully people listen. So I'm literally showing the proof and not the promise.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Thanks for doing that. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Kelly, you brought up a really good point before of delegation, with delegation of tasks and bringing about business and everything. How important is it when you surround yourself with the right people, to put the right people around you at all times in your circle. What does your circle mean to you?
You know, everything they say is true. As you grow, your circle gets smaller because what you're going to put up with becomes smaller. First of all, I can't be around people that talk out of both sides of their mouth. And I'm not judging them. They think I'm judging them, but I'm not. And then my authenticity tends to cast a big shadow, and I'm a big guy. And it's just, I've learned that when I say something, I do it. There is no compromising. And I learned that's very unique. And that also freaks people out. And I'm going through this. I'm working with this IFS therapist where I'm doing parts work and brain spotting. And I'm learning that, hey, man, that's just who I am. And it's okay. I'm not, I was bringing, you heard Craig say playing small is canceled. I was bringing myself down to not offend people. And that was hurting my soul. So this is who I am. There are times where I wish I could take a shortcut, but I can't. The last 15 days, I have had nonstop anxiety. I did some work with my therapist where I unlocked something, and then my coach synced it in, and it hit together, and they both challenged me. And for the first time, I'm sitting at breakfast, and I had a freaking panic attack. I thought I was having a heart attack. And when Superman gets sick, everyone freaks out. So my daughter's looking at me. She's like, Dad, what do I do? And I'm like, just give me a second. I'm sure this isn't a heart attack. And I'm like, because I had a real sharp pain in my chest, but nothing else. No spike in the thing, no sweats, no flat, hot, nothing. It just was a tightness in my chest. Turns out I get stress and a knot in my back, and it comes all the way through my chest. And it was just a flat out panic attack. And I've had 15 straight days of panic and anxiety. And I didn't medicate. I didn't mask it. I called my therapist. I called my coach. I've put it on social media because leaders go first. And I want to show that bad things don't last. And you just literally sit in it, and and you'll go right straight through it. The buffalo goes right into the storm. The storm is coming at it, and it gets through it faster. Sure, I could have taken a Xanax. I could have had a drink. I don't drink anymore, so that I couldn't have done any of. That's the other problem. I can't. I say I could, but I can't. I can't. So I sat in it. Today's the first day, probably because I'm getting to see you, that I feel. I feel at peace. And I'm hoping it couldn't come a day too soon, because tomorrow I'm headed out to Utah to do a keynote, and I'm emceeing an event, and I want to show up my best self, but my best self is just a centered self. And so this is life, but that's when you're living, guys. I feel it. I spent 30 years masking my emotions. And I built a great company and a great life. I've done some fun things, but did I feel any of it? None of it. None of it. I've done things that people were like, whoa, that's so cool. I was there physically, but not emotionally. And that sucks, man. When you're numbing, you numb the good things as well as the bad things. So feeling is healing, and it won't last forever.
Yeah. I appreciate your, vulnerability and opening up and sharing, with us, just, being candid about yourself and stuff. I want to go back to those in between years, before coming, the CEO and developing, this amazing business and everything. What was it in those in between years that you were really trying to figure out in life, and where you wanted to go, and some of those obstacles that stood in the way of really launching yourself into something that you wanted to maybe ultimately become?
You're getting me some good questions. Getting me ready for tomorrow. What was I chasing? I was chasing, we all think we're chasing success, and then you get a little bit of significance and you realize success doesn't taste the same. So I survived. Make no mistake about it. I survived hell growing up. I was make no, I just worked on this. So this is the first podcast I'm going to say this. I was terrified as a child. So what I did to survive is I pushed those feelings down and said I was just a scared little boy. And then I was tough, harder than life. And I'd said I used all my fear up when I was a kid. Bullshit. That was my crutch story that I told myself so I could achieve a couple of bucks in my pocket. And now that I'm really looking at it going, I've been working at that little boy who was terrified, and I'm calming him down, which allows me to be calmer, which if you're watching my content, you just see a different version of me coming out. And my coach challenged me because he knows that my boy is Ed Milet, and he's like, you're going to be bigger than Ed Milet, which I keep telling him I'm coming. And I'm like, I'm coming. And really, it isn't to be, I got to put a goal so I know where my end goal or where, begin with the end in mind. But truthfully, I just want to help people. I want the person that is performing instead of living to say, I watched Kelly on their on the Dual Coast podcast. I want to follow more, and I want to learn more because he went first. Because there's a lot of me out there where they're just performing and they're not feeling, and they know that there's so much more out there. And so what was I running? You don't know until you stop and you look in the mirror and you say, what is my life? And what do I want it to be? When I'm 80 years old, what do I want my life to look like? And at the end, when I'm dying, I take my last breath, I want to sit there and think, okay, this is the man I am, and this is the man I wanted to be, and I want it to be the same person. Because regret's a mother scratcher. And I've got a lot of regrets. I've done a lot of stupid things in my life. And people that sit back and just say, I have no regrets because everything happened for you. And I believe that everything does happen for you, but God, the universe, source keeps sending you lessons until you learn them. And they were sending me a lesson, Russ, to freaking not drink, not party, and just learn and do good and give back over and over and over. And I wasn't listening. So they sent me this thing called the pandemic and made me sit by myself. And then on top of it, the weirdest thing happened. It's in my book, Harder Than Life. The weirdest thing happened. My ex-girlfriend, my ex-wife got together and they took away my daughter and made up some bullshit story. So I literally had to sit by myself with nobody in my feelings. And I was about a little over a year into my healing journey. And there is nothing more scary than to be completely by yourself with your thoughts and feelings and have nothing and not know what tomorrow is going to bring. Because if you remember the early days of the pandemic, which we're coming up to, it's March 10th today, March 20th is when the whole world sat down. So 10 more days. I got our country shut down. My business was shut down. We lost our biggest customer who went out of business, and my daughter got taken away from me, all at 4:00 on March 20th, 2020. And I literally was sitting here alone, like, what am I going to do? And that was a pivotal moment. You turn right and all hell breaks loose. You turn left, all hell breaks loose. If you just sit in your shit, you're going to be okay. And luckily I just sat in the shit, and that's what really turned me in. And it's where Harder Than Life was born. I wrote my book during the pandemic. I declared war on my mind and my body. And I used that pandemic where most people were drinking and loving the remote work. I was grinding. I ripped my IT cybersecurity company apart, built it, implemented EOS, started the delegation, and really started the mindfulness work. I hired my first emotional intelligence coach. I started doing hypnotherapy, EMDR therapy. I literally did more during that pandemic than I probably done ever till right now, where I'm grinding on myself. But then I went, what were we like? We're 6 years later. I went on a 6-year freaking like grind. And I'm looking, I realized I hadn't made it any further. And I know it looks like we got a lot of followers. We got, we've done coaching. We wrote 2 books. We got a top podcast, but I still don't, the mission is incomplete, which is funny because I was looking at my journal the other day from that time, and I literally journaled and prayed to God for the life I have right now. And
That's
what
awesome.
did I do? I moved the goalposts because with more, you expect more, and I want to do more. And now I realize, holy cow, I've helped hundreds of people quit drinking. Our friend Molly Smith still credits me. She did the work, but I've helped hundreds of people look in the mirror and make their life better. I've helped people through fitness journeys. And that's what it's all about. And if I can make people, give the people the little bit of inspiration, a little bit of motivation, and I do that through my modeling of my life, then I feel like, yep, let's check that box. We did what we were supposed to do here. And when I get really, really, really quiet, somebody speaks to me and says, this is why I put you through hell, because life is not fair. You didn't deserve any of that, but you took it and made the best of it. And I'm telling everybody they can do it too.
Yeah.
So before this is over, I want to tell this new system that I came out with. It's called TLC, but I've been talking forever. So you can go on to the next one and ask me more questions, but don't let me end this without giving my TLC framework that I'm just unleashing right now. I'm going to even the first speech on it tomorrow. It just downloaded to me. It's amazing how when you get quiet, things just download.
Yeah. Well, I just love, it's easy for us to mask things in our life, right? It's easy to mask it. I think that period, and Skoka, you've got your time, 6 years ago during the pandemic, you can mask it or you can unmask it and you can become.
For sure.
And, it was a time that people were trying to find themselves, and the fact that you were alone during that time, was amazing. I live by the beach, so, I'm alone, but I could walk out and I could get the fresh air. I couldn't go on the beach between 11 and 5 because it was shut down, because that's the only time that, COVID was existing on the beach.
Hint, wink, wink. It was so funny here in Michigan. Like, you could just drive down half an hour and go to Ohio. And apparently right when you cross the border, COVID didn't exist. Dumbest thing I've ever heard, but it is what it is.
Oh man. But I applaud, you going through that time, because that was what you just shared. That was a very growing time. And it's, we can reflect, and I think it's good to reflect, because those are times that you can really dive in to see and discover who you were and where you are and what got you to where you are. And I love that. I love that.
What you're really saying is, and this is something that I've read. It was Dan Sullivan's book, The Gap and the Gain. So we always are operating in the gap. And that's just, you're like, well, I'm so far from where I need to be. Like, I want to be the number 1 podcast host in the country. And that's, currently occupied by Joe Rogan. Yeah. But if I sit there and compare myself to Joe Rogan, of course I'm going to be in the gap. But if I look back and say, hey, 6 years ago, I didn't even have a podcast.
Right.
Look at where I am now. We're top 20. We're getting freaking massive amounts of downloads. Please subscribe to the Heart and Life YouTube channel. That thing's growing like crazy. And here, as soon as we're about to, I'm going to be giving out tons and tons and tons of freebies. I'm big on AI right now. So we're giving out AI prompts. We're giving out how to leverage AI. And so it's just measure the gain and not the gap. And we all it's just your mind focuses on the negative. Think about this. I'm reading in the book, Body Keeps a Score right now. And it's like, we cannot remember the details of good things, but we can remember almost every detail of the bad things.
Yeah.
And you can feel them viscerally. Like, I remember my daughter being born, but do I remember what the operating room looked like? Do I remember what it smelled like? But hey, I remember the moment that I said, I'm going to stop drinking. I remember how I felt. I remember the tightness in my chest. I remember the hangover that came subsequently. And I remember the sweats and the withdrawals, and see how I just feel it. We're backwards. in life. But I think God did that intentionally because that's the price of entry. That's the price. That's the cover charge to living a really happy, healthy life.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And most won't, but we will.
That.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
So good.
Amazing, man. Kelly, you seem to be a man of discipline. So,
what gave you the clue?
Just slightly.
What would you say you have? What habits or non-negotiables do you have that keep you mentally sharp and maybe disciplined as a leader every day? What's something that's non-negotiable for you every day? I know the gym is definitely one.
So in my second book, Happier Than Life, I literally detailed exactly what I do every single day. And I do the same thing. I've been doing the same thing for 6 straight years. I've gotten a little bit, I didn't push that book as much because from the time I wrote it to the time that I released it, I'm like, I changed a few things. So there's not much that is negotiable in my life. The only thing that is negotiable right now is that I'm trying to do less, because it's the only thing I haven't done in my life was be a human being instead of a human doing. So my day, every day looks the same. I get up at 4. I get up at 3:59. On the weekends, sometimes it's 5, but 4 and 5 every single day. And I wake up and I do a gratitude practice. A couple things I'm grateful for. Then I go right into a meditation, and then I go and I journal and I head to the gym. So when the first hour of my day, I'm winning. I'm winning and I get the tough things out of the way. I try to stay away from this thing the most, this phone. These are just, it's so bad for you. And right now in the political climate and what's going on, it's poison. It's toxic. So don't pick up your phone in the first hour, which is hard because to get in the gym, I got to use my phone. Yeah. To listen to my podcast, I got to listen to the phone. And then by the time you look at it, you got 400 Instagram messages from the night before, 1,000 freaking messages from YouTube, and text messages from everybody. And it's like, what's becoming non-negotiable is that I got to separate from this thing more.
Yeah.
But the working out, my word, my favorite book is The 4 Agreements. 4 Agreements I live and die by. So be impeccable with your word. Yeah. It's just certain things that once I say it, consider it done. And I won't stop until I get what I came for or something greater. That's so I can knock my mother and my stepfather for all the negativity they instilled that in there too. So let me give him a little bit of credit. Everything does happen for you. My stepfather, even when he was a massive drunk, still woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning and went to work and went to the gym. Where did I learn that from? When he quit drinking, he did it cold turkey, didn't go to AA, didn't do nothing. When I quit drinking, cold turkey, just said I've had enough, didn't go to AA, kept going. So there are still good things that came from my terrible childhood, but I had to feel those feelings a little deeper than I was letting on to be. So the discipline is freedom, but the biggest thing, what works better than discipline is consistency. So it's better to be consistent than intense. So a lot of people want to, I'm going to do this big spurt. And I just am this. This is what it looks like for my day. and the only non-negotiable I would say, if you don't do anything, put everything in your calendar and work your calendar like it's your lifeblood, because it is. And I'm doing this speech tomorrow where people think I'm crazy. Oh, you got to have the freedom to move about your day. I built a prompt that you can put in any AI, and then you drop your calendar in and says, here's my goals. Are these activities going to get me to my goals? And I love AI because it's impartial. It's not your friend going, oh, you need to work out less. Your body needs rest. Everybody's different, but AI will tell you like it is. So live and die by your schedule. And if you look at my calendar, everything is in my schedule, and people know what it is, and it's non-negotiable. And I have no problem anymore saying no. Like when you reached out to me, I had to think for a second, like, can I make time for this? Because when you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else.
Yeah,
And it's not that
right.
I don't want to come on and rap with you. It's just I got to be very careful about my time because I do overextend myself. Today is a long day. My day started at 4 a.m. and it'll end about 1 a.m. and I'll be in Salt Lake City and I'll sleep for 4 hours and I got to be on a 6 a.m. Conference call for my cybersecurity company. So I'm learning that as I get 50, I do have limits. I thought I didn't, but that's how I had that panic attack is I went on vacation, I rested, recharge, and I went from 0 miles an hour to 150 miles an hour for 6 days straight. And my body went, no more, no mas.
Yeah.
So the body does keep the score and I have limits. I used to think I didn't, but I do. And we all do. But you'd be very surprised how much further those limits are than what we think they are. So really push up against them, and the body and God and the universe will guide you the way.
That's right.
Sure.
That's right. So what do you think from harder than life to happier than life? You know, 2 different things, right? But in between there, like there's some growing pains, there's some learning. But really, when you look at what's harder than life, what is it within us that's harder than life? But when you think about happier than life, like I think a lot of people are missing being happy.
Yeah.
A lot of people, you know, just the mindset. And I was just talking with a flight attendant the other day who I just recently connected with. And I got to thinking about processing of like people that get on an airplane. Who sets the tone on a flight than the first person that you meet when you enter that plane?
Yeah.
Right.
That flight attendant that's standing right there is greeting everybody. And if that greeter is not happier than life, right? Is not happy and welcoming and really setting the tone, because there's 250 people that get on that plane that have all different types of personalities that went through all different kinds of things, right? But that person right there can really change somebody's attitude in just a moment.
And
So
Russ, who's the greeter in your life? It's you.
that's it.
So in the morning, the first thing you do is that flight attendant.
Yeah.
So what do? You grab your phone and you start looking at notifications and you're immediately on the defensive. So what do? I immediately go to gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I get that happy greeter coming in. So that's a great analogy. But the funniest thing you're talking about is happier than life, healthier than, or the next book's going to be called Healthier Than Life. And where I'm going to blend the two, because I'm 3 different people. I was scared to death, completely not knowing what I was doing when I wrote Harder Than Life. Excuse me. Harder Than Life is just about looking in the mirror and being disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
And I built this tough, like everything's got to be hard and I'm going to plow through it. And that works until it doesn't.
That's right.
So then I started softening from all of the therapy. And I was like, okay, I'm going to write Happier Than Life. Here's the habits I do to be happy. And then what I didn't put in there is, what does happiness mean to you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it started with just, I gave a speech in honor of America for the 250th anniversary of being free. And I kept talking about it. You know, we all have these inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The pursuit. And it got me thinking. It's like, really, it's a pursuit. That's the journey we're talking about of living, because so many of us are working and living, but we're not alive.
Yeah. So
it's a pursuit of living, the pursuit of freedom, not just freedom to move about the world, freedom in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got to thinking about that, it got me wondering, like, what beyond our basic human needs makes you happy? And it's really simple. It's literally just being focused on right here, right now. Being present. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. All we have is today, and it's a gift. So that's why they call it present.
Mhm.
And it's just that simple. It's simple, but not easy. Because when I'm sitting here talking, I'm thinking about, okay, I got a meeting right after this. I got to get out, I got to pack, I got to get on a plane, I got to rehearse my speech, which I was doing before. I'm in the future.
Yeah.
But I just want to be right here, right now, with my two favorite people and all that matter right here, right now. And that's what I'm going to talk about in happier and healthier than life, how to cultivate those. And this is a great segue to two things. There's the 3 S's: silence, solitude, and stillness. Those 3 things you can answer any question you have. And then once you do that, give yourself a little TLC. And it's simple: train your mind and your body every single day. You train your and this isn't the feel good, do your 10,000 steps. Get your butt in the gym and sweat. Now it can be Pilates. It can be, and I don't want to hear this. I don't have time. Get up earlier. And I don't want to hear I can't afford it. There's $10 gyms. Get to the gym and sweat. And then feed your mind, train your mind with a podcast or, just podcasts, but also listen to other podcasts, people that you might not agree with. So that's the T. The L is learn. You learn by read 10 pages or a chapter a day of a nonfiction book. And then take in a podcast. Instead of listening to the music while you're on your way to work or at the gym, turn on a podcast. Train your mind and body, learn by reading and taking in good podcasts. And then finally, C is counseling and coaching. I have both. So I have a coach that holds me accountable and a counselor who's a therapist who points out my blind spots. Together, they're molding me into the next level of what I got to be. TLC. Guys, that can be done by anybody. And there's no excuse. And if you start with excuses, there's the issue right there. No excuses. Yeah. And that's non-negotiable. Right. I do that every day, all day. And it's simple. TLC. Who doesn't want some TLC?
That's awesome.
Great. Love that.
Oh, it's good stuff right there with Kelly Siegel.
That's it. Bombs. Kelly,
remember, guys, I don't think I've ever said this to you, Russ. Everybody thinks you only live once, but no. We only die once. You live every day. So whatever hell happened yesterday, let it go. Mm-hmm. Let it go. Live in day-tight compartments and enjoy it, because we don't know what the hell is going to happen tomorrow.
That's right.
Very true.
No guarantees.
That's right. Kelly, we have this saying or this quote that we close out every single podcast with that we usually like to ask our guests about. And that quote goes, wellness is not about perfection. It's about progress. What would you say that quote means to you?
Well, I say it all the time: progress over perfection, which is so hard for people. It amazes me. Like when I'm in my IT cybersecurity firm, everybody wants to make me so happy that they're striving for perfection. And I'm like, guys, perfection is the horizon. We're never going to get there. So let's aim for perfection, but land on excellence. And you can get to excellence. Excellence is achievable. And it's looking in the mirror and being proud of the effort that you gave. And it's simply by measuring the right inputs to get the right outputs for the right outcomes. We're all so busy being busy that we're not measuring, did we actually achieve the goal? And I don't care how hard you work. If you don't achieve your goal, you don't get a freaking participation trophy in life. It's not the way the real world works. Mm-hmm. So you can work your butt off, misfire totally, and have to start over. And that's pretty much what I do over and over and over again. So I heard this once. It was, I have a master's degree in falling down and a PhD in getting back up. That's what that means to me.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Love that, man.
Yeah. I love, Kelly, the enlightenment that you brought today. And I think, there's numerous things that I personally can take away. And I do a walk and talk every Wednesday with Kate on the East Coast, and we just get on and we talk about something about health and wellness. And last week in it, we talked about today, and we talked about what is it in our victories that we should celebrate every single day. And gratitude was something that I shared with everybody that we need to start the day with. And for me, you've said a number of key things, but it really solidified in me, and I hope people were listening today, and people are going to pull different things out of today's talk on Dual Coast. But you really reaffirmed the gratitude and starting that, because that really sets the tone of our day. And I usually do the gratitude on a walk.
Yeah.
I get up and I walk, I smell the ocean air, I'm breathing, the goodness in of the salt, and hearing the crashing of the waves. But starting the day with gratitude, to me, is solid in how we should go about our day and really setting the tone.
A lot of people talk about gratitude. It's impossible to be grateful and grumpy at the same time. You can't feel two emotions. So feel grateful. But I want to go back to what you just said, because a lot of high achievers like us forget to celebrate wins at all. Mm-hmm. And I got a newsflash for you. Waking up is a win.
Yes, that's right.
A lot of people didn't wake up this morning. Mm-hmm. So I have a bad habit. I just bought a company and we integrated them, and I celebrated for exactly 30 seconds. And we acquisition's complete. Let's take a second to be like, cool. And that's what I did. I have and there's a lot of people like me. So what I would say to you is celebrate all wins, because I just forget about it, and it's not healthy. It's a win to be on the podcast. It's a win to wake up on the day. It's a win to go on your gratitude walk. It's funny you talk about that. Excuse me. I usually take a gratitude walk with my dog, and here in Michigan, it's been so cold that he's a princess and he won't walk in the snow. But we're in Florida. I land in Florida and I'm so busy. I haven't, I'll go on the walk and I'm thinking about what I got to do. Mm-hmm. So when you're going on a walk, put your phone down, leave it at the house, and go and be grateful and just think about I did it yesterday with the dog, and I'm like, oh, I've missed this. And it's sometimes just you forget about it. Yeah. That's why I keep hammering the TLC. Somewhere in there I got to put, take gratitude walks, because they're vital. I feel like I recharge, and you look around and you see the greenery and you just see how awesome this earth is. And bonus points for, the grounding. If you can walk barefooted, especially on the beach, do it. If you can do it in the grass, do it. There's something energetic about that really it grounds you and just sets you straight.
Yeah, great. Absolutely. Been amazing today.
That's amazing.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. It's been fun.
No, it was awesome. I loved every single second of that. That was great. Kelly, where can people find you, Kelly?
Well, we hang out a lot on Instagram, kelly.siegel.71. That's growing, but we're really pushing the YouTube here shortly. When we get to a certain number, we're going to start releasing a lot of special things on just YouTube. But you can always email me. I answer all of my emails. It's kelly@heartoflife.com until I can't. But it's to give it forward, man. And a lot of times in the early years, people came to me, how do I quit drinking? Now it's pretty much, well, how do I win more? And I just teach them about the mindset. So the greatest thing I love doing are relationships. People laugh at me. I'm really good at love advice, because that's what the Harder Than Life movement actually started. I got my heart broken, and I looked in the mirror and said, I'm the common denominator. I'm the one attracting these women. So really the Harder Than Life movement is a love story. And I'm flying out to Utah to give a speech at my girlfriend's company 2 years now. And like I said, this is what I prayed for, a reciprocal, loving, kind, giving relationship, which I watched this week, the last 2 weeks, where I've been in nothing but anxiety. She's like, I'm here for you, babe. I love you. And I've never had that. It feels foreign to have somebody unconditionally love and support you, even when you're down, because love to me was earned, and it's not the way it's supposed to be. So whether it be relationship advice, whether it be business advice, fitness advice, we work on it all, because it all starts right here.
That's right. Well, thank you for coming on to guys. Dual Coast this morning, Kelly. So appreciate it. Appreciate your energy, appreciate your attitude, your passion. passion, everything that you bring to the table. You know, you've gone from newspaper boy to highly successful CEO. You're giving, and the fact that, you know, harder than life and happier than life and soon to be healthier life. It encourages me, right, in my walk today about being present, being here, and thank you for enlightening my life this morning. I really appreciate it.
100%.
Yeah, Russ, I'm proud of you, man. First time I met you to now, your growth is, take a moment today to think about when you started and where you're at now. You've done a lot of great things, and I'm proud of you, and I'm happy for you. And I believe even at our age, which there's still a lot of life to live, especially with AI, we're going to live a lot longer. I feel like you're just getting started. So guys, keep doing what you're doing. And I challenge you to take it up a notch. What's holding you back? Go.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, boys.
Grateful for you. Yeah.
So much, Kelly. Really appreciate it. Guys, please check Kelly out on all his social media and his YouTube handle. Check us out at Dual Coast Podcast on all social media handles. See you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening. Kelly, thank you again for with us.
Thanks, Kelly.